the second hour, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden here, your steadfast advocate for health, coming at you live again Tuesday, October 29th, 2013. Now, you've been listening to me for a while, and if you've been listening to me for a while, you know that I have been doing clinical work as a naturopathic physician for 25 years. Been doing clinical work as a licensed naturopathic physician for 25 years. And over the course of time, you start to see patterns and you start to get a clue, and you really have to be a knucklehead to not help people with naturopathic, basic fundamental naturopathic therapeutics. And like my colleagues, I got good results with the practice of naturopathic medicine. And then I met Dr. Wallach. I met Dr. Wallach. Well, I've known about Dr. Wallach for my entire professional career, but I started mentoring with Dr. Wallach 4.5 years ago, almost exactly 4.5 years ago. Started mentoring with Dr. Wallach, paying attention to his advice, paying attention to his research, understanding, wrapping my brain around his perspective on the pathoneogenesis of disease. And as God is my witness, since I've been following Dr. Wallach's advice, using Dr. Wallach's therapeutics, and disseminating them to the masses through the agency of longevity, I don't even know what planet I'm on anymore, because the results that I have witnessed firsthand and secondhand with Dr. Wallach's therapeutics eclipse anything that I had previously done. And let me tell you, folks, I was one of the first naturopathic physicians in the country to do bioidentical hormone therapeutics. I did this way before anybody else did. I was one of the first naturopathic physicians in the country to do heavy metal detoxification. I was one of the first naturopathic physicians in the country to do narrow reference range fractionated nutrition. I was on the team of homeopathic doctors that proved the homeopathic preparation of human growth hormone. I've been around the block, and Dr. Wallach's therapeutics rock. And I'm very, very, very happy to have in the house live with us this afternoon the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Joel Wallach. Doc, thanks so much for finding your way here.
Dr. Glidden, thank you so much. Gosh, for that introduction, I have a lot of responsibility here.
Yes, you do, so you better step up to the bar, buddy. How are you doing today?
Okay, very fine. It's an honor and pleasure to be with you, and thank you so much for the hospitality.
Well, very good. Now, Doc, rumor around campus has it that you are set to publish a brand new book. Let's talk about that.
Well, yes. In fact, the publishing company called today, and they're telling us that they're going on to getting the Library of Congress numbers and copywriting the whole manuscript. They're very excited about it. And this is a big publishing house in New York. This will be the first book that we had published by a big publishing house rather than self-publishing, and they're excited because of the Dead Doctors Don't Lie story. They said, gosh, we didn't realize that you had sold so many CDs, you sold so many books, and you give 300 lectures a year. It'll be easy to get this book out to the public. And, of course, the book title is called Epigenetics, E-P-I-G-E-N-E-T-I-C-S, Epigenetics. It refers to the environmental, including nutritional impacts on genes, how genes actually can do different things. The same gene can do different things based on the environment that the body's in or the nutritional level one is at. And you can actually reverse and prevent all kinds of diseases the medical system say are genetic. But then the medical system said diseases were caused by spontaneous generation for 3,000 years, and then along came an eyeglass maker by the name of Leeuwenhoek, who put two lenses, one on top of another, and set it side by side, and they could see the germs. And a wine fermentation expert by the name of Louis Pasteur found that you could make vaccinations for all kinds of animal diseases, plus vaccinations for rabies. And none of these people are medical doctors. We're talking about people who took care of people's health from the standpoint of eyeglasses, microscopes, and vaccinations. And doctors get a lot of credit for that stuff, but doctors had nothing to do with these things. Well, here's a case where in 1977 I discovered the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis in a primate. Very quickly, within a couple of weeks, I figured out what caused it in that monkey. It certainly wasn't genetic transmission, but but it was, in fact, a nutritional deficiency during pregnancy. And in the livestock industry, we'd already learned how to prevent and cure that disease in animals with supplementation of all 90 essential nutrients plus extras of the trace mineral selenium. And they tried it on the monkeys, and it worked. They actually did biopsies of colony mates, babies of the same age as the one that did the autopsy, and they had cystic fibrosis of the liver and the pancreas and the lungs also, just like the one that I did the autopsy on. So I would give the nutrients to these baby monkeys with cystic fibrosis, goes away. This was 1977. Emory University in Atlanta and the Yerkes Primate Center were very excited about it, and they made a big news release. It went around the world, 1,700 newspapers, 2020, big hoo-ha over it. And then when I told them that, they asked me the question, well, how long do you think it'll take to make another couple of baby monkeys with cystic fibrosis that are still alive? And I said, well, I can make you hundreds of them a year if you want, thousands. If you're really making a big project, how many you want to study? I can do it because I know what caused it. And they fired me. And we had a similar experience here. That's when I went back to school and became a naturopathic physician, by the way, in 1978. And,
now, let's stop there for a minute. Let's underline this. They fired you because your position that cystic fibrosis was caused by an environmental stress, a nutritional stress to the baby monkey while it was in utero, was so far outside of the box that they just couldn't, like Jack Nicholson said, they couldn't handle the truth. So rather than accept it and broaden the field of medicine, they fired you and went back into the conventional box of Mendelian genetics. Is that the reason?
Well, that's correct. And, of course, I asked them when they terminated me, they just walked into the office and said, hey, you're fired. I said, well, don't you give me a chance to defend my research like you do a PhD student when he's trying to get his PhD degree? Nope, you're just fired. You must be sniffing glue. Nobody can be that far off the line here and be correct. And they fired me. That was 1978. Then the same thing happened about 3.5 years ago. Over the last 5 years, we've known for a long time, but in the last 5 years, we've really through experience with hundreds of kids, know the cause, prevention, and cure of muscular dystrophy also. And we went to Jerry Lewis and his office and said, look, Jerry, we don't want any money from the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation. We've already found the cure, the cause, prevention of muscular dystrophy, and we just want to know, do you want to be the guy to make the revelation, to make the news release? These are Jerry's kids, and we'd just be honored if you'd be the one to make the release. And we gave him copies of about 50 charts and sent him email copies of about 25 charts. We said, hey, what do you think? And so he took it to the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation's medical committee and said, hey, I want you to look at this and see if there's anything of value in here to help these muscular dystrophy kids. They said, oh, Wallach, yeah, this guy's a nut. We've looked him up on the internet. He even thinks he can cure cystic fibrosis, prevent cystic fibrosis, another genetic disease in babies, and we're not even wasting our time reading the stuff. And Jerry said, well, look, we have worked together for 22 years. We've raised $1 billion in telethons, and I insist that you look at this, and if you find that there's nothing of value in it, I will be comfortable with that. But you can't tell me you're not even going to look at it. That I just can't handle. I really insist that you look at it. And they fired Jerry Lewis for insisting that they look at our data based on reversing muscular dystrophy. And so it's just been a crazy thing. So what we did, we joined with a small muscular dystrophy foundation, a nonprofit organization. In fact, they're in your organization, and called Defying Muscular Dystrophy. And these guys have already raised money and got an FDA-approved study, and they've got the study published, and so they're a very reputable little group. And you and I are sort of the directors, if you will, of the scientific advisory board of this little organization called Defying Muscular Dystrophy, and already we're getting enormous benefits for muscular dystrophy, and we're going to start doing telethons next year. So we already have people looking for locations in Vegas. We already have people looking for celebrities who will lend their credibility to our telethon. We're going for it because we know the cause, prevention, and cure of cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy, and it's going to be a good thing for these kids. We can eliminate it next year. You and I working together with all these kids, it's going to be great.
Well, you know, Max Planck, right, one of Einstein's contemporaries, he's a very outspoken physicist, and one of my favorite quotes of Max Planck is, "Science progresses one funeral at a time," which means that the members of the medical profession, members of anybody with a doctoral degree, is trained to think inside of the box. That's how the whole PhD program came into being. It wasn't designed to broaden doctors' minds. It was designed to narrow them, to get everybody thinking along the same lines, everybody walking in lockstep. And so, you know, somebody comes along with a brand new discovery that's outside of the box, and instead of accepting that and applauding that and looking at it intellectually, the MDs and the PhDs, they reject it out of hand because it's not inside their box. And this is one of the greatest problems that we have here in the 21st century with the delivery of medicine, because it is delivered by doctors, physicians, and PhDs who are intellectual cowards, who are not even willing to take a look at, objectively, at scientific studies and real people with real illness being treated in real time and getting real results. And quite frankly, these people who call themselves physicians, who have supposedly taken the Hippocratic Oath and dedicated themselves to relieving the suffering of humanity, and they won't even take a look at it. I mean, they should be kicked out of the United States of America, sent to a deserted island someplace in the southern Pacific, and left to rot and die, because they are not American. They do not have our backs, and the reason that we're suffering needlessly is because of their intellectual cowardice. It's a crying shame, Doc, and it's one of the greatest, the corollary to this is you and longevity and the mission that we're all adopting here of science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition for the masses delivered through the agency of longevity. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just getting warmed up. Stick around. We're back with Dr. Wallach after these messages. Don't even think about changing that dial. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here, your steadfast advocate for health. We've got the one, the only Dr. Joel Wallach on the line with us. Now, Doc, there's a concept called eugenics, which is it's a social philosophy based on the notion that if you want to create a population of supermen and superwomen, then you have to select who breeds with whom, so that you can positively influence the genetic traits that you like and get rid of genetic traits that you don't like. Let's talk about the evolution of eugenics in the world and how MDs factored into that.
Okay, well, basically, eugenics was started by a man by the name of Francis Galton, who was Charles Darwin's cousin back in the 1830s. And he was a very wealthy guy, just like Charles Darwin was a very wealthy guy. And what he wanted to do, as you point out, was to speed up evolution of human beings. He wanted to do that by making sure that they bred the smart and the beautiful and actually sterilized the not-so-smart and not-so-beautiful. And this was a policy in the United States up until the 1930s. There was actually at the federal government level and most state levels, they had eugenics departments in the government. And they would, in fact, make sure that people who were illiterate and so forth would be sterilized, forcibly sterilized without a court order or anything. This went on in the United States, like hundreds of thousands of people were sterilized. And, of course, Hitler read all this stuff when he was in jail for 20 years. When he came out, he was a firm believer that tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, very smart people were supposed to take over the earth. It was their destiny to take over the earth, and that this whole eugenics thing led to everything from slavery before Francis Galton to the genetic thing now. Because even now they're doing genetics to see who's the most intelligent, so you can have dating clubs and so forth with intelligent dating the intelligent. Well, this is where epigenetics comes in, and this came out in the 1970s, and epigenetics says that the genes are actually influenced by the environment, including nutritional deficiency, nutritional excesses, toxins, poisons, even constant stress will actually affect how genes manifest themselves. And so eugenics is a big part of this book, Epigenetics, And of course, the subtitle of the book is The Death of the Genetic Theory of Disease Transmission. And of course, we go into the big history of eugenics and how it took over the world. When you look at all the countries in the world that were involved in genocide, this was all related to the concept of eugenics. They wanted to keep the perfect, smart, beautiful people and eliminate the expense of dealing with people who weren't smart and beautiful. They figured we'll either kill them or export them or deport them or whatever. And that whole thing went back to Francis Galton in the 1830s.
And during World War II, with the rise of the Nazis in Germany and Europe, what role did the MDs play in the dissemination of the eugenic philosophy?
Well, in every country, including the United States, the medical doctors were all too willing to participate because they were paid by the federal, state, and city and county governments. And they would, when a sheriff would drag somebody in by the hair and say, well, this is an imbecile, needs sterilizing. They would do vasectomies or castration of men. They would do hysterectomies on women. It was really was rampant in Mississippi here in the United States, and they called them Mississippi appendectomies. They would give them an appendix operation, but really they were doing hysterectomies on them. And this went on for about 20 years in the state of Mississippi, and we're talking about tens of thousands of people. So basically what we're looking at here is a situation where the medical doctors participated all the way to the top. And when it came to Nazi Germany, you could tell how much the medical doctors participated at the Nuremberg trials. There was something like 27 doctors put in jail for life, and I think it was 17 doctors were executed because they were the ones who carried out, you know, they didn't say, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave Germany, I'm not going to do this, hang me, but I'm not going to kill all these patients. No, they stepped up and said, you know, we can be more efficient here. We can make gas chambers, and one man can kill 200 at a time instead of having firing squads and wasting all that ammunition. It'll be better if we do it this way. And doctors were all too willing to participate in this. Mengele, the most famous of all of them, actually he went out of his way to find twins, and he understood the whole idea of epigenetics back in the 1930s. You could take twins and raise one differently than the other, and they were quite different physically, emotionally, physiologically, and intelligence-wise, because their environment controlled everything. So
remarkable.
Mengele was at the top of the list.
Mengele is at the top of the list. Yeah, the MDs always rise up when we least expect it. Ladies and gentlemen, fire your MD yesterday, fire your MD today, and fire your MD tomorrow. We're coming back with Dr. Wallach after these messages. Stick around. Dr. Wallach's new book, Epigenetics, set to hit the stands in March of 2014. Mark it on your calendar, March of 2014, Epigenetics. It has the potential to revolutionize the way that conventional medicine looks at the pathogenesis of disease. And I got to tell you something, folks. I've been doing this for over a quarter of a century. And it is my opinion, based on my clinical experience and my personal experience, that Dr. Wallach has forgotten more about pathophysiology than most physicians know. Let's talk about that, Doc. What's your take on fatty liver? What's the pathogenesis of fatty liver? How does that happen?
Okay, well, the liver, of course, does all kinds of remarkable things. It probably does 50,000 chemical reactions and enzyme reactions put together each day, maybe per minute, and it requires an enormous amount of nutrition. And when things are missing, the physiology doesn't work in the liver, and one of the things the liver is supposed to do is take fat and break it up into glycogen and store it as animal starch for energy. It uses it for immediate energy for itself and the rest of the body. And when it starts building up in the liver and you get a fatty liver, it's kind of a precursor to liver cirrhosis, which is very severe life-threatening disease. But if you get somebody on a gluten-free diet, then you give them all 90 essential nutrients. Say, I give them something simple like the healthy start pack, 1 per 100 pounds of body weight. Throw in the extra D-stress capsules, capital D like David dash stress. I'd give them some extra selenium, ultimate selenium, 3 of those twice a day for 100 pounds of body weight. And within weeks, that fatty liver goes away because there's usually either biotin or lecithin or selenium missing. You could be missing all 3. And I've had people who had say, 32 liver operations over a 12-year period. Their liver's the size of an Oreo cookie, and they were told they didn't even have enough liver to survive, and they were too far gone for liver transplants. And Harvard Medical School is the one that did all these surgeries, right? They should have done a liver transplant earlier if they were going to do that instead of waiting, but they wanted to do all these procedures. So at any rate, we took this woman, I'll just say her first name is Elaine, and in 3 months' time we built her liver back to a normal-sized liver. And then, of course, the fatty liver, we see this all the time. People ask about that, and they see this on a CAT scan or an MRI, and, of course, say, we're going to have to put you on the liver transplant list. And really, in just a few weeks, eliminating gluten so you can maximize absorption, take all 90 essential nutrients, throw in the extra selenium, throw in the extra de-stress capsules, and it all goes away.
It's remarkable, right? When you give the body a chance, the body will rally and fix itself because the body has the ability to fix itself. The body wants to fix itself, but it's lacking the raw materials to fix itself, and that's where we come in. Now, Doc, I know that you're up against the clock here, but I can't let you go before you tell the listening audience your story about how that CD, one of my favorite CDs of yours, Seeing is Believing. Seeing is Believing. Tell the listening audience, please, how that CD came into being.
Okay, well, actually, that CD, Seeing is Believing, is a apology by an eye doctor who, when I was up in Salt Lake City, oh gosh, got to be 10, 12 years ago, giving a lecture. At the end of the lecture, I always have some questions and answers. And a young fellow raises his hand right at the first question and says, my grandmother's 85 years old. She's been legally blind for 8 years. Anything you can do? I said, what's her disease? He said, macular degeneration. I said, oh, that's easy. We can reverse that. Even if she's been legally blind for 8, 10 years, no problem. And a guy jumps up in the back of the room and says, Wallach, you're a liar. And I says, who are you? And he says, I'm an eye doctor, and it's impossible to do what you say, and you're a liar. I said, I'll tell you what. You give me 12 of your patients who are legally blind for 6, 8, 10 years, and over 90 days, if I could get half of them, if I could get 6 to read 20/20 without glasses, would you apologize? He says, if you could do that for 2 out of 12, I'll apologize. So the next day during a business meeting, he brought a box full of 27 charts and looked at all 27. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll take all 27. So we got them all going, and in 90 days, all 27 could read 20/20. Only 2 required glasses to do it. The rest of them didn't even need glasses, and they'd all been legally blind for 6, 8, 10 years. So his apology, he actually volunteered to put it on the CD, which we call Seeing is Believing, and anybody who has macular degeneration or any other eye disease really needs to listen to that CD, Seeing is Believing.
Gotta love it. That's Dr. Wallach in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Wallach, the hats go off to you, man. I just can't tell you enough how very happy and fortunate I've been to come under your tutelage. And I tell you what, Longevity Nation is growing and growing and growing. I'm looking at bright skies ahead.
Well, thank you so much for your hospitality, Dr. Glidden. And I'm telling you, you are a 5-star general in the Army to save America. We love you. We appreciate you. We're very proud of our association with you. Keep up the great work. We're going to save America together.
I'm all in, Dr. Wallach. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Wallach in the house. Let's give him a big fire your MD now round of applause. Dr. Wallach, thank you very much. And God is my witness. I say this, and I don't know if people think I'm just blowing smoke. People think, oh, you're a radio host or you're the lecture guy. You're up in front of the room, and you need to be saying stuff like this. You have to be saying stuff like this. Well, guess what? I'm not. I don't have to be saying this. If I seem tall to you in my understanding of medicine, if I seem tall to you in my delivery of therapeutics, it's for one reason and one reason only, because I'm standing on Dr. Wallach's shoulders. No kidding. I got great results before I met Dr. Wallach. Since I've known Dr. Wallach, I get remarkable, stunning, jaw-dropping results. Jaw-dropping results. Stuff, people recover from stuff that now, since I've been following Doc's protocols, I didn't even think you could do that. How did you do that? It's a whole different level of play. It's major league stuff. It is major league stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, if you ever have the opportunity to attend a lecture, a live lecture that Dr. Wallach is giving, drive 10 hours, go out of your way, show up at the lecture, because just to be in the same room with Doc often is a life-altering experience. Let's get back to the phones here while we can. Alicia is in Texas with a question about, of all things, fatty liver. How about that? Hey, Alicia, thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Yes. Hi, Dr. Glidden. How are you?
Good. So were you able to listen to Doc explain the genesis of fatty liver?
I did. That was great. I was thinking that was probably in precursor of talking to me, actually.
That's how we roll here. So the recommendation is simple, right? So what we do to support and promote the structure and function of the liver in the face of that illness is the Healthy Start Pack and selenium appropriate for body weight. And the way that we dose selenium is 1 bottle per 50 pounds per month. 1 bottle per 50 pounds per month. I wouldn't give more than 4 bottles a month at any one time, plus eliminate the 10 bad foods. And also, interestingly, the liver is an interesting organ. You know, you can surgically remove over 70% of it, and it'll grow back. It'll grow back. It'll grow back. It's the only organ that'll do that. And that means there are biochemical pathways, there are mechanisms in place in the liver which stimulate the generation of new liver cells. And that would be a smart thing to do, don't you think, if you have a liver problem? Well, yes, Dr. G, I think it would be. Selenium does that in spades, but there's something also that does that. Beet juice, fresh squeezed beet juice, is an excellent stimulator of the generation of new liver cells. So anybody that's up against a liver illness, once they've done the 90 essential nutrients and extra selenium and extra, de-stress like Doc recommends, then it would not be a bad idea, and it tastes great too, by the way, to once a day have a couple of ounces of fresh squeezed beet juice. And so you just want to go to the grocer, get a bunch of beets, not cooked beets, not steamed beets, not canned or pickled or bottled beets, just beets. Cut the greens off of the beet. Don't even need to peel it. Just wash the dirt off and throw a beet in the juicer. And one of my favorite juicing combinations is fresh squeezed beet juice, fresh squeezed green apple juice, and fresh squeezed carrot juice all together. Carrot, apple, beet juice, delicious, really, really good for you. And if I was trying to support and promote the structure and function of my liver while adding fresh squeezed beet juice, for the first 7 days, I'd start with 1 ounce of beet juice. For the second 7 days, I'd go up to 2 ounces of beet juice. And for time after that, for, a month or two, I'd stick with 3 ounces of fresh squeezed beet juice a day. Wouldn't do more than 3 ounces of fresh squeezed beet juice a day unless you're more than 300 pounds. Because it's a lot, and the generation of liver cells will just make you feel funky if you're doing more than 3 ounces a day. And by the way, if you do the beet juice thing, folks, you can't make a gallon of it and stick it in the fridge. You have to make it and drink it, and make it and drink it, and make it and drink it. You have to drink it right after you, within 30 minutes of making it, or it goes bad, or it loses a lot of its vitality. And be warned, fresh squeezed beet juice, no matter what you mix it with, eventually will make your urine and your stool turn red, pinkish reddish, and you'll think you're bleeding. Oh my God, I've got blood in my urine. Well, no, you don't. It's beet juice. It's a normal reaction, but I love carrot, apple, beet juice. It's an excellent add-on for anybody trying to promote a healthy liver. Was there one more question, Alicia?
Well, actually, I did have one about that. And I just want to know if this is all related for him. He also has clinically low testosterone, and his cholesterol, he just had his lab work done, is 98. And he said it's always been 98. He's never been able to get his good cholesterol. He's never been able to get it up. So would the issues going on with his liver, would that be why his testosterone and cholesterol levels are so suppressed?
Absolutely correct, yeah, because the liver is fundamentally important in the conjugation of cholesterol and sex hormones. So when the liver is funky, the hormones are going to be funky. So I would hazard a guess to say yes, 100%, that the reason that his testosterone levels are low and the reason that his cholesterol is low is because the liver is funky. And when the liver comes back, when the liver boots back up, so to speak, as long as he's eating cholesterol and not taking any statin drugs, and, of course, he's eliminated the 10 bad foods, and it should all come back. And I would expect a 6-month turnaround time for that.
Okay, very good. And yes, the next lady, she's 44 years old, approximately 130 pounds. She, her last pregnancy was about 9 years ago, and during that pregnancy, she said it was one of her hardest ones. She'd had a couple children before, suffering with migraines and things. But she said ever since she's had what they call like a basically menstrual crisis. Every month that she gets is severe migraine right preceding her menstrual cycle, and in the last 3 to 4 years she's gone into perimenopause. So it's gotten much more severe, extreme fatigue, central nervous system issues like vertigo, things like that, nausea.
And all of these things happened after the birth of her last child?
Well, she had 1, 2, and then she had 2 miscarriages, and then she had her third child. And during her third, she said she always had menstrual problems like her whole life, but after the third, when she successfully had her third pregnancy, that was very tough pregnancy with, like I said, a lot of migraines, swelling. And she also had blood clots during that pregnancy, so they've had her anticoagulated since.
Yeah. Well, you see, what happens is the body's nutritionally starved anyway. And then if the body is lucky enough to get pregnant, the fetus steals more than the lion's share of your nutrients, and so the mother suffers because, now needs to be enough nutrition for 2 people in one body. There wasn't even enough nutrition for 1 person in that body, and so everything's going to start to go downhill after that. We're up against the hard break, Alicia. Stick with me through it, and I'll dial in what this woman needs to do to get her health back. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Wallach, how about that? It doesn't get any better than that. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Stick around. Coming back. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here, finishing it up on Tuesday, October 29th, 2013, with Alicia from Texas. Alicia, are you still with me?
Yes.
All right, very good. So, migraine headaches are caused by, from our point of view, a deficiency in a naturally occurring substance in the body called prostaglandin. When you don't have enough prostaglandin, one of the things that happens is you get headaches, especially of the vascular type. And prostaglandin's formation needs essential fatty acids, omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. And so from our position, most of the time, migraine headaches are a simple essential fatty acid deficiency. It's a relatively easy thing to get on the other side of. And, because everything is connected in the body, when you have a weak link somewhere and then there's an extracurricular stress to the body, like, the appearance of your menstrual cycle, it can tip the apple cart over and you're going to generate symptoms. And also, because of lack of nutrition the entire life, and then a pregnancy that saps your reserves, and then another pregnancy that saps your reserves, and then a couple of miscarriages, your body was smart enough to not get pregnant during the miscarriages because it knew it didn't have enough nutrition. And then all of a sudden, she ate a fruit or some nuts one day that were grown in soil that was rich in selenium and some other trace minerals, and she just happened to have sex that night and got pregnant, and then the body's going to try to hang on to that, and there was enough nutrition there to maintain a viable pregnancy. But after that one, she's dead in the water because that child sapped all of the nutrients out of her body. And quite frankly, I would be amazed if the last child of the bunch is physically well, or that he doesn't have ADD or ADHD or there's some chronic health concern. I'd be very, very amazed if there wasn't anything going on with the last child. But that's a separate issue. So the recommendation here to support and promote the structure and function of her body is simple. You just got to fill the tank back up. So we give the Healthy Start Pack and selenium, appropriate for body weight. Healthy Start Pack and selenium, appropriate for body weight, and 1 extra bottle of EFAs. Now that I'm saying it out loud, probably a more cost-effective way for her to do it, because when you bundle a number of the supplements together in a package, right, it's less expensive than if you buy them individually. So the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack would be a good way for her to go, because it has extra EFAs in it. It has extra EFAs and selenium in it, which she needs anyway. So if she gets the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, she'll be ahead of the game. So the recommendation would be 1 Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, per 100 pounds of body weight per month. Enough selenium to bring the total up to 1 bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month, and eliminate the 10 bad foods. That should do it. That combination right there over the course of time should actually produce remarkable positive changes in her body. And if you want to up the ante here, because of the menstrual difficulties, you could give her an extra bottle of the white liquid calcium, either the Cal Toddy, the Beyond OsteoFX liquid, or the Beyond OsteoFX powder, whatever floats your boat. And in a perfect world, I'm of the opinion that in addition to each of the healthy packs, it would be prudent, in addition to selenium, which is my biggest friend, for everybody to take 1 bottle of plant minerals or cherry mints per 100 pounds of body weight per month as an add-on if it's in the budget. Little extra plant mineral support, especially post-pregnancies, can often speed things up, at a greyhound's pace quite remarkably. So if it's in the budget, extra bottle of calcium and an extra bottle of either the cherry mints or the plant-derived minerals. Have her take that out for a walk for 90 days, Alicia. But remember, everybody's got to go gluten-free, because being gluten-free maximizes the absorption of the supplements. But I got to tell you something. She's going to love how she feels, because when somebody is this nutritionally starved, even a little bit, I mean, even if she's, 300 pounds and can only afford the 100-pound dose, her body is so starved for this that even when she gets a little bit of it in her body, she's going to notice a remarkable positive change. And I would appreciate it, Alicia from Texas, if you could call us back in a couple of weeks with a report on how she's doing, because I'm going to bet you 25 cents it's going to be remarkable. Appreciate everything you're doing down there in Texas. Wish we could talk all day. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Thanks for finding 2 hours of your busy life to spend with me. God willing, we're back in the saddle tomorrow. See you then.